Parshas Vayakhel, Tavshin Ayin Vov. This week, we actually have Parshas Vayakhel alone, without Parshas Perkudei. And not only that, it's not attached this week because we are only 3 weeks away from Purim. We have an Adar Rishon, and this week coming up is Parsha Shalom. We need to divide up some of these parshas in order to have enough parshas before Pesach. There's a whole cheshbon why. However, this year we're able to speak just about Parshas Vayakhel. It's also actually Parsha Shalom this week. We're going to enter Chodesh Adar Sheni already next week. Time is flying along. So we're going to take this opportunity to speak a little bit more about the theme that we spoke about last week, and that is the inyan of Shabbos. Shabbos is mentioned in last week's Parsha. We say it's one of the Nesivos' favorite subjects. There's an entire section of Nesivos written on Shabbos also. We spoke about Shabbos last week, and now we're going to continue a little bit. And so many things, says the Nesivos, stem from Shabbos. And so many things are based on Shabbos. And so many things revolve around Shabbos. And the Parsha begins like this. Vayakhel Moshe es kol adas b'nei Yisrael. Vayomer alehem. Moshe gathered Klal Yisrael and he said to them, Eile advarim asher tzivo Hashem la'asoi soisam. These are the things that Hashem has commanded la'asoi soisam to do them, to follow through and to do them. And the next pasuk right away, Sheishes Yomim Teosem Lacho V'Yom Hashvi Shabbos, right away. Moshe Rabbeinu gathers everybody and says, these are the things, and we would think that Moshe Rabbeinu was going to begin right away talking about the Mishkan, because that's what we've been discussing for weeks now already. First thing we do is we speak about Shabbos. And after that, the Torah mentions the Parsha of the Mishkan. Vayomer Moshe el kol adas b'nei Yisrael leimor. Everybody should bring for the Mishkan. But first, we interject and we right away and we mention Shabbos. The Mefarshim ask, why do we have to mention Shabbos here once again? We spoke about Shabbos just in last week's Parsha. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es Shabbos. We had a whole thing about everybody should keep Shabbos. Why are we saying it again? So Rashi says that we mentioned Shabbos before the Mishkan here to tell us that the building of the Mishkan is not Doicha Shabbos. And that's why we bring Shabbos first. We say first is Shabbos. Okay, then you want to build the Mishkan, but the Mishkan is not Doicha Shabbos. Although, says the Nesivos, we actually already saw that last week in Parshas Kisisa, where it says, Ach eshab soisai tishmoiru, and Rashi there says also, Ach eshab soisai tishmoiru, that we learned that you have to keep Shabbos. You don't build a Mishkan. It's not Doicha Shabbos to build a Mishkan. So really we have Shabbos, we have the lesson in that last week's Parsha, and then we have it again in this week's Parsha. So it says the Nesivos, that we have to understand that this week's Parsha, Parshas Vayakhel, was said on the day after Yom Kippur. And it was on the day when Moshe Rabbeinu came down, and Moshe Rabbeinu informed Klal Yisrael that Hashem had forgiven them for the Maisa Ego. That's when this Parshas Vayakhel was said. And Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Bnei Yisrael, says in Nesivos, a beautiful thing. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Klal Yisrael that there are two ways that a person, they had just done the severe chet of the ego. There are two ways that a person can extricate themselves from the depths of sin. A person does a big avera. There are really two ways to take yourself, extricate yourself from that, and build yourself back up. And what are they? Exactly what it says in this Parsha. It's Mishkan, building a home that's full of Kedusha, that's a Mishkan. And then there is the other lesson of Shabbos. Shabbos is another way. There's a schus, and we learned there's a schus of these two things, and by doing these two things, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem was appeased by Klal Yisrael by these two things, Shabbos and the Mishkan. Therefore, in Parshas Vayakhel right now, when it's being said, after Yom Kippur, it's being said, when Moshe Rabbeinu was giving Klal Yisrael the news that they had gotten forgiveness from Hashem on the Maisa Egel, we come once again and we mention Shabbos and the Mishkan. And Shabbos has a tremendous power. Shabbos can bring you back from so far. Shabbos can bring a person back from anywhere. The Gemara tells us, Kol hashomer Shabbos kilchasa, one who keeps Shabbos with its halachas, afilu avad avodah zara, kidor enosh, person is oiver avodah zara, Vayakhel in life. Gemara in Shabbos daf kuf yud ches, you can look it up. But a person could do, Shabbos has a tremendous power to bring a person back from very far down. And so too we know, like we discussed over the past couple of weeks, that the Kalim of the Mishkan, each one of the Kalim had the capability to light the way in a different way for Klal Yisrael. So you have Shabbos, which is a tremendous light, and Shabbos, which is able to bring the Yid back from anywhere. And we also have the Mishkan, each one of the Kalim in the Mishkan, which can light the way and bring a person back. The Mikdash also had the Korbanos, which constantly brought forgiveness. So we have all these ways that if a person is feeling distant from Hashem, these are the ways to bring yourself back. So the Torah told us, like we said, these in Yonim of Shabbos and Mishkan, first of all in Parshas Kisisa, before the Cheka Egel. Because very good, we understand now, we said that Shabbos and Mishkan can bring a person back, so that's why it says in Parshas Vayakhel. Okay, so why did we mention all those things in Parshas Kisisa? First of all, we bring it before the Egel to tell us how a person has to live their life. The Torah is a guide. The Torah tells you how you're supposed to live your life. So comes the Parshas Kisisa before the Egel, and the Torah tells you, you know how you're supposed to live your life? You live your life with Mishkan. You live your life with Kedusha. You live your life by building a house for the Shechina. But there's a problem. What about if a person does Averos? And a person is all of a sudden distant from Hashem. Comes along now. The Torah goes ahead now and Parshas Vayakhel tells us, you know what? If you fail and you fall down, you have the same lessons. Those are also the ways to bring yourself back. It's the way to live your life with the Mishkan and with Shabbos, and it's also the way to bring you back if, Chas v'Shalom, you fall and you are far from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Nesivos Shalom tells us about two different aspects of Shabbos. The Shabbos of last week and the Shabbos of this week. The Shabbos itself, everybody, we have discussed this also in the past, the Shabbos itself has a Kedusha Shabbos, that is, as we call it, B'Yisra'usa de La'ela, where there's a God-given Kedusha on Shabbos that has nothing to do with anything we do about Shabbos, or how we keep Shabbos, or what we do for Shabbos. Shabbos is inherently holy. Shabbos has inherent Kedusha, and it has nothing to do with how we prepare for Shabbos, or what we do on Shabbos. Anything that we do on our part has nothing to do with this. And that is the Shabbos of Koydem HaChet, because we keep on discussing that there's two different aspects and two different ways that we look at Shabbos. The Shabbos of Isarusa de La'ela, as the Nesivos Shalom always talks about, of that holiness that's God-given, that has nothing to do with us, that is the Shabbos of before the Chet. When for somebody and a person that has no Averis, that a person has no negative side to them. But what do we regular people do? Us, we also know we need the next Shabbos. We need the Shabbos of La'achar HaChet. That Shabbos of La'achar HaChet, though, operates differently. Every person, human beings, unfortunately, we do sin and we do things that we can't say that we have no Averis, we've never done anything wrong. So we have the Shabbos of Parshas Vayakhel, and the one in this week's Parsha, the lesson that it teaches us of this week. But that Shabbos comes a little bit differently. That Shabbos requires our preparation and our effort. The Shabbos that Hashem gave the world before this Aveira was done, that Shabbos would be holy and would be Kodesh. We wouldn't have to do a thing. But the Shabbos that we have now, the Shabbos of Parshas Vayakhel, we need to put in the effort. And we need to put in the effort not to come into Shabbos encumbered by all the baggage and all the chatoim and all the things that we may have done during the week, all the chet that may come with it. we have to make sure that before Shabbos we contemplate that, and we don't want to enter Shabbos like that. That's the Shabbos. That is we say the Zohar and Shomor. There's two different aspects of Shabbos. Zohar is the Shabbos before the Chay. Zohar is Yom HaShabbos, the day of Shabbos, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it. Shomor is a different Shabbos. That's the Isser Malacha, the part that we need to do. We have to put in the effort for Shabbos. The Shabbos of Parshas Kisisa is the one that's a matana from Hashem. Matana yeshli b'beit genozai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I have this matana, it's called Shabbos, it's inherently holy, and if you don't mess it up, this is the Shabbos, you won't have to do anything. No work on our part. The Shabbos koydem achay. The other part of Shabbos, and the one that's not mentioned, the one that's mentioned in this week's Parsha, that is a different Shabbos. That's a Shabbos that requires our effort. And what does it mean? Eila dvarim asher tziva Hashem. The Pasuk says at the beginning of our Parsha, like we mentioned, Eila dvarim asher tziva Hashem la'asois oisam. What are those words, la'asois oisam? It should just say, these are the things that Hashem commanded. What does la'asois oisam mean? What does it mean, doing? These are the things Hashem commanded. To do them, of course, Hashem commanded it. We have to listen. Now, with everything that we just explained, it's beautiful, those words, we come to a Shabbos. We come to a Shabbos where we may have spent an entire week. Who knows if we were perfect? Who knows what we went through, the pressures, the different things we may have said, we may have done during the past week. It requires a proactive thinking, proactive doing on our part, things to do, the preparation that we need before we come to each and every Shabbos. And most of us, we have to admit, are on the level of where we actually need to work on. We don't only have the Isarusa de Leila, that's beautiful what Hashem gave the Shabbos, but we need this Isarusa de Lasaka. We have to put in the effort. So tomorrow it's going to come, a Friday. It's going to come before Shabbos. It's kedai for every person to think. We just had 2 weeks in a row with such beautiful lessons of Shabbos. Parshas Kisisa, Parshas Vayakhel this week. We have to think when it comes before Shabbos, don't go into Shabbos running and under pressure and just being so harried. Come into Shabbos by thinking how fortunate we are to have a day of Shabbos, the high level that we can reach on Shabbos. And hopefully, this Shabbos will be the first Shabbos the first of many Shabbosos that are becoming our way, and we'll be able to think and actually spend Shabbos in the right way.